Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heads in the Cloud with James and Straw. Uh, we are in early November, excited for the remainder of 2024 and the exciting things coming up in 2025. And I wanted to start off this episode by introducing everyone to a new member of the 4IR team, well, relatively new member of the 4IR team. This is Straw. I will let you pronounce your full name. That way everyone can hear it from the source.
Thank you. It's Strahinja, but I don't make anybody struggle with it. Straw is a go-to, and it's just easy, plain and simple. But James, thank you for introducing me here. I'm a solutions architect for 4IR, and essentially what I help is I help provide architectures for cloud and hybrid cloud solutions for manufacturers. So if you have a question how factory stack could, fit in your needs, I will most likely be the person that you're going to be talking to figure out what the system's going to look like.
Awesome. And to be qualified to do that, Straw, what kind of background do you have? Were you a basket weaver before this, or did you maybe work in a different industry?
I was a professional gamer. Just kidding.
Oh,
I uh, I was an integrator in my past life for about six and a half years. I traveled the U.S., work in various industries, pulp and paper, food and beverage, oil and gas. Worked in data centers. Basically everything besides discrete manufacturing, and my niche ended up being SCADA systems and manufacturing networks. And I would not say that I'm an expert in one or the other, but I knew enough to design a robust system and to define enterprise standards for these systems with my previous clients.
that's
Um,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And so, having sat on a bucket at 4 o'clock in the morning and worked on those systems, and now moving to the world of 4IR and really trying to embrace the cloud, what have you seen to be some of the differences that are happening with clients and folks that are embracing these kind of technologies?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of frustrations with IT and OT um, in my time as an integrator in particular. And one of those that comes to mind from the OT side is the requirements from IT can be cumbersome, or there's maybe lack of relationships and communications with the IT side, or even the corporate OT side when you're looking at local OT management. So those are some of the things that I know I've seen frustrations with. Um, and if you move on even into projects could be time consuming and they don't want to involve the corporate side sometimes. There's politics involved. Um,
Yeah,
OT,
there's usually some sort of a hard deadline for production to begin, and the fact that it might be the process for provisioning of specific resources or to go through different processes on the IT side. It's not universally understood. I think it's not that anything is not important. It's just they're very different worlds, I think, and
yeah.
the lack of bridging between them has been a problem since I started in this industry, and I think it's I don't know. I think it's better, but I think it's still, I'll call it a chasm between the two.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And more as, enterprises are starting to shift towards enterprise-wide OEE systems and enterprise-wide MES systems, the conversations are starting to occur. And the difficulty that industries are facing now is that they don't know where to start because they haven't approached these topics before. You have integrators that might not have the knowledge on how to do this. You might have manufacturers themselves who don't know where to start. And I know, working with 4IR, it's one of the big things for us is helping guide these people and manufacturers to a pathway where they can combine their IT and OT systems in a secure fashion and quickly as well.
Yeah, I think the more you've, and probably in your career and definitely in my career, I've seen kind of the fact that everyone wants the same thing at the end of the day, but doesn't understand why the other side can't work the way they work. I think that's a bridging that we've been particularly good at helping with. And also, the OT side can be very, I'll call it scary if you're an IT person, right? So there's a lot of unencrypted traffic. There's a lack of standards. There's a lack of authentication consistency, and protocols are all over the place because
Yeah,
there's, in a lot of cases, technical debt is incurred as capital equipment is purchased, not as, IT rollouts are happening. So it's not like, oh, I decided to do a refresh of all my servers. It's no, I put a new line in and I had to buy some servers to support that new line. So
yeah, yeah,
the, things like disaster recovery and backups and management and incident response programs, those things are not as universally understood as important from an OT perspective, but they're absolutely critical from an IT perspective. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Is the cloud helping with that, or is that making it harder?
I think it's introducing a new level of difficulty because many of these at least new clients of ours haven't ever approached the topic. But once it is integrated, I think it's been helping a ton, and it's been making OT environments, I think, more secure in many cases. When it comes to, unencrypted communication within the facility, it's not that difficult to encrypt it, use SSL-based standards and certificates to ensure that your SCADA communications at a local level are also secure, because if you have a bad actor within your facility, you need to make sure that's also prevented and you have steps to avoid that happening. One of the big selling points with, uh, that I've noticed with 4IR, um, is that, many integrators and manufacturers, obviously don't know how to bridge that gap, and they don't have teams in place to manage it. So when I heard 4IR is automating the management of this, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Because before, you need full teams to manage your OT environments, your OT infrastructure, and your IT infrastructure. And we're kind of, in a way, doing a little bit of both. But because of the way we set up our environment, it's a whole lot more efficient to manage this infrastructure now with code instead of people clicking buttons. It's that was one of the big things that caught me. I was like, wow, this is going to be revolutionizing for the industry.
Yeah, and I think, if you go back to why is that hard in an OT environment, and you go look at, a lot of the big vendors in the space, they're running on, code bases that are 10, sometimes 20 years old. So for them, it's a really heavy lift when a new service pack comes out for Windows for them to be able to say, yes, we support this, because they have to go through a series of regression tests in their labs. They have to make sure all the different use cases are covered for. And it's a very difficult thing for the big software vendors to do that. And part of it's because it's a Windows application that's, written at a certain stage, and they've had to go deal with things like getting rid of decom and some of the baggage that comes along with it. So you kind of look at, I personally think container technology is going to be revolutionary for manufacturing, because you're not carrying all the same operating system burden that you have to carry when you're running a full OS, whether that's Windows or Linux or Mac or anybody else. When you're running a containerized version, you have stripped down the amount of operating system that you're carrying to just what you need for that application. So it's much easier for the application vendors to be able to support upgrades of kernels and upgrades of specific drivers, because it's not any possible combination of drivers that could be updated.
Right.
It's a very specific set in a very controlled environment. So
Yeah.
I think the IT folks have seen this and accepted this a long time ago. I think the OT folks are starting to get it, just like people kind of started to get it when VMware and virtualization started to come into manufacturing, and people would recognize the value it could drive in consistency and backups and transportability and upgrade path. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think there's still, a language difference. I
Mhm.
think, if you look at kind of where IT is visualizing things, it's very much more from a cost and compliance and security and control perspective. And OT is from an availability and a, meeting of my timelines and needs, and providing me reliability at a certain level for my operations. So yeah, I don't think they're opposites, but I think, there's different mentalities to how you manage towards those targets. And if you're able to manage towards all of those targets at the same time, then everyone can be happy.
Exactly. And ultimately, our goal as 4AR really is to, be on the forefront of enabling this technology for manufacturers across the globe. And that, that's something I do take pride in, and I know you do yourself as well. It's another trend I've noticed, and I think OT and IT can agree on this, is that I think Mariah Carey is being played too early, James. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think global best practice is after Thanksgiving.
Straw, it's November the 8th here. We're having a warm spell, and we're talking about Mariah Carey already being defrosted.
She's been released too early. You should wait till after Thanksgiving. This is global best practice. I'm telling you, standards. I wrote this beautiful diagram here, and I think it's really it's a simple question. Is it greater than or less than Thanksgiving? Greater than or less than New Year's? And if it's between New Year's and Thanksgiving, I think you should play it. But if it's before that, if it's outside of those bounds, I think it's too early. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you've got the whole you've got the post Halloween Christmas crew that would disagree with you. But I am on team Straw here because I think Thanksgiving is really for me when the Christmas season becomes the real holiday season, Christmas season, whatever you want to call it. But that's when Mariah Carey should reappear from the cave or wherever she's kept for the rest of the year. So yeah, I'm totally on your page here. I am curious for anybody that listens to this. We would love to hear in the comments what your opinion is of this, knowing it's a little bit of a tangent on our normal topic and subject matter, but awesome. Well, hey,
we have to throw it out there. Debated point. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, with that wonderful revelation, and thank you, Straw, for your time today on the podcast. I look forward to hearing from anyone who listens, and hopefully, if you guys have some feedback. Honestly, we would love to. Mariah Carey part's very important, but we would love to hear more about kind of IT and OT convergence and how people on both sides of the fence feel, because we feel that is one of the barriers to completion of some of these digitalization initiatives right now, and it shouldn't be. We would love to learn more from the folks that are experiencing it. So if you have any feedback, please leave the comments, reach out to us. We're happy to talk anytime. And with that, I will say we sign off. Thank you.
Thank you,
Straw,
guys.
thank you. Have a great one, everyone. Cheers.